Good evening. You are joining with Business Today on ChannelEye. Now, if you have been an avid follower of this program, you probably know what we do here on this program is to bring business and also to bring entrepreneurs into the studio and speak about business extensively and how, as a country, by supporting the backbone of the country, the economy, how we can stand as one nation. And we bring examples every day. We bring numbers of other personalities as well to bring you this boost that you require on any specific day if you have this mindset to develop as an individual. Right, today also we have invited guests, and before we reveal the personality, let me tell you, when it comes to business intelligence, it's actually about understanding the market. It's actually about understanding the behavior of your customers and also understanding data that is also out there. So as a company, if you start doing this on your own, it takes time, it takes energy, it takes effort, and also it takes human resources and also every other resource in the company. But what if a company does that for you and makes things much, much easier? And that is exactly what we represent today on today's Business Today. We have Mr. Travis Gomez, the Associate Director of Userbase, joining with us today, and he is going to explain to you about what the company does when it comes to business intelligence. Good evening, good to have you on board.
Thanks very much for having me, and glad to be back again.
Yes, of course you're back because he has been joining with us multiple times and he is now representing this company about business intelligence. So before we dive into the business and about the company, let's speak about you, because now you're a familiar face to the ChannelEye and also this program. How has the growth been for you from that last moment to today?
Yeah, so I mean, so broadly, I've been hovering around the research space for a long time. So from my academic background, I was very much into economics and research. So for as soon as I had graduated, I started working at a company called Asia Securities, right. Which was at that time part of the Asia Capital Group. So I was working in economic and financial research. So very much looking at the local market, the stock market, and providing that research on particular companies as well as on the economy. So then I took a gap year to go abroad and for my higher studies. Right. And when I returned, I was working at a company called Frontier Research. Right. And I was there for about 7 years, working in sector research, in news curation, and very much involved in the local market. Then last year in September, I took like a different direction where shifted my focus from the local market towards global research, and that's where I joined Userbase. Right. And yeah, I've been with them since, part of their team there.
That's brilliant. Okay. So Userbase is not a Sri Lankan company. It is based in Sri Lanka, but also has the roots of its company in Japan. So before we dive into the operations, I would ask, why Sri Lanka? Because this company chose to be here, and why would that be?
Yeah, so if I explain a bit in terms of the history of Userbase, so Userbase was founded in 2008, as you said, in Japan by these three entrepreneurs. And so they are very much into, their product range is very much around the research and the intelligence space, providing that information to businesses to inform their decisions. So a key product that they have is what's called the SPIDA platform, which is a business intelligence platform.
SPIDA, is it?
SPIDA, yes. Okay. And where essentially, if you're sort of like, say, someone who wants to get information about, a lot of industries around the world, a lot of companies, in-depth research, say if you're working in the competitive, the corporate finance of a company or the venture capital arm of a company, you're trying to identify, what are your competitors doing, what are the new opportunities that are out there. This platform basically is like your one-stop shop for all that information. So really what we're doing, what the platform is doing is curating and aggregating that information as well as providing vital insights about the industry. So Userbase, the Sri Lanka office was set up in 2016 with about 7 members. And since then it has grown to currently there's over 70 plus members. And the core part of the team here is really the content team, which is basically providing the insights to the SPIDA platform, as well as a new platform that was launched, which is, I'm a part of it as well, called SPIDA Edge in 2020. So broadly the team in Sri Lanka is really the ones who are really the ones behind the research, really.
Right.
So I think in terms of why they chose Sri Lanka, so I think Userbase is, I believe, not the first company to be in this line of work. I think there is also other well-known companies that are in this space. And really, I think Sri Lanka has really established itself as, you know, having that expertise to do this line of work. And you can really see that in terms of Userbase's growth as well, from 7 members to now 70 plus. And really the roles have also expanded over time. So it's not just analyst roles. Now we have team members who are involved in editorials, team members involved in marketing, in like the design team. So that's really, I think, a testament to like the capabilities of Sri Lanka, and you know the ability to like really attract you know, global firms like Userbase.
Right. Okay. Now you spoke about the product. You said speeda.com, and so this website is accessible to anybody out there. How does that work? How does the operation works on that product?
So broadly, it works on sort of like a subscription basis. So both the Speeda platform as well as the team I'm a part of, which is called Speeda Edge, which is also a separate platform that was launched in 2020. So broadly, it follows a subscription model, where if you subscribe to the platform, you basically have access to all the research on the platform. So if you take the Speeda platform, you have, as of now, I think you have access to information of over about 10 million companies globally, yes, as well as covering a wide range of industries. So just to also speak a bit about the difference between Speeda and Speeda Edge. So Speeda is very much the core focus is on sort of the more established industries that are out there, whether it's automobiles or like, you know, the hospitality or the transportation. So if you want in-depth research on the companies that are in that, you know, that's the place to be. With the Speeda Edge, our focus is really on trying to identify what is the next best thing, what are the new emerging opportunities. So like very much, yeah, so very much into the cutting edge technology, really looking at the startup scene, who are the up and coming new firms, and what are the emerging industries. So in Speeda Edge, we cover about now about 70 or so industries. So again, it follows this subscription model, and what a subscriber gets is they get access to the platform, as well as they can also contact us, the analysts, if they want some custom research done. So that's typically how we are structured.
Right. So you will also customize the research based on the needs of their client.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So now there can be individuals like businessmen, or maybe those who are with an idea but can't, you know, just put into action, or maybe there could be academics, there could be students also. These platforms that you have provided by the company Userbase, do you recommend this to be accessed by all those individuals, or do you only specifically mention about the corporates?
So broadly, in terms of our audience and our subscriber base, mostly it typically is like large corporates, usually conglomerates, financial services, venture capital funds, who are really trying to like understand how their competitors are doing and what are the new investment opportunities. That's typically the market that we cater to. But even if you're like an academic or someone like trying to get some research on, because a lot of these areas, particularly if you take the Speeda Edge platform, a lot of these are very sort of niche industries that we are covering, which you won't really find research that is out there. So, you know, if you're someone who's very interested in those spaces, this platform would be helpful. And apart from what you can access through the platform, we also have a couple of what are called insights, which are also published on the platform, and a lot of those are also, at least to a limited time, are made available freely. So, for instance, we recently did an insight on like wearable tech. You know, who are the key players in that? What is driving that trend? What are the different applications of it? So, a lot of those are freely available as well. So, if you go to like our LinkedIn on our social media channels, you can access those research.
Okay. So, if someone wants to join with you, like to do the research part, I mean, I'm not speaking about a career prospect, but I'm talking about the research, because it sounds very interesting for those who are interested in research, doing research. Can they partner? I mean, can they help you do the research and, you know, maybe you know, supply their research findings to you? Can they do that?
Yes, so I mean, very much the way sort of like Userbase itself is also structured is it has that very much that startup culture, and even with the new platform that I'm a part of, I mean, we are very much, it's like to a certain extent at an experimental stage as well. So we're trying to see really what are really the client's needs and trying to really fit that to that. So we're looking at certain partnerships and things like that as well. And right now we do have certain engagements like that. For instance, there is one engagement that we have where the so apart from a lot of the research that we are doing, which is a lot of it is from like gathering data from like public sources as well as financial statements and whatever information that is out there, we also have a partnership with a company that provides us with they basically conduct interviews with like the CEOs of some of these startups,
Right.
and that so from that, that's another avenue through which we can get some good insights. And even some of our analyst teams in Sri Lanka, they've also had the opportunity to like be on part of some of those interviews. So those are the kind of so really, when it comes to research, the more information you have, the better. So we're always open to that.
And I'm sure like you also maintain the standard when it comes to do research. I think also not every research that's out there could be fitting into your criteria. So that's also very finely tuned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's really the value that we bring as an analyst. It's not just, we're not just gathering pieces of information. It's really collating it and presenting it in a way because a lot of our clients at the end of the day, they don't have a lot of time. They want to get the answers in a direct fashion, in an easy to understand manner.
Right.
So really, and a lot of the things we are dealing with are very sort of might be not familiar or very complex. So if you take something like edge computing or like or quantum computing or these plant-based cell cultured meat, a lot of them are very specific. A lot of them are very technical. But really, what our analysts are able to do, and through the platform, you can get that. Even if you have no idea what this particular industry is, you will get a very good understanding of it by reading our research. So that's really the value that we bring to it.
Yeah. Now, when you said all those topics about cell culture, production, and things like that, I realized that you require like a huge load of knowledge. I mean, you need to have a massive knowledge for different areas. How do you manage that as a company?
So as I said, even in terms of like my background, I up to this point, I have been very much mostly been looking at the local market.
Right.
So my experience has been there. But really, I think the beauty of something like research is really it comes to you having that sort of that critical thinking, having developed that. So it really doesn't matter the type of research that you have done. It's whether whether you have that sort of that structured thinking and that sort of the methodology for going about the research.
Right.
And that's really how we are structured. So in Speeda's case and Speeda Edge's case, the way it's structured is that each team member would sort of like specialize in particular areas. So once you start doing the research, once you're sort of following what are the developments that have been happening on a day-to-day basis, I mean, you develop that subject expertise over time, and that's really how we are structured. And to the extent where customers are coming to us for like sort of like advice on these kind of things. They are really interested in our recommendations. So really, I mean, honing that research skill is really the core part of it.
Right. So you make sure that you dig in properly and then find out the information. Right. So you spoke about the research. Now you said there are also research conducted by different individuals in the company. I mean, in different areas. You also have a specific area. Elaborate on that.
Yes, so in terms of the Speeda Edge, the way we are structured is like broadly, as I said, we cover about 70 or so industries, and the way it is currently structured is we have about 6 what we call broad verticals, and under that, one of the verticals is called the work. So that is really looking at new technologies that is changing the way work is done. So I think a lot of us are familiar with these remote working tools and things like that. So that is one area that we are covering. So the particular area I am focusing on at the moment is these tools to help with the certain roles in the company. So that is like the sales teams and the marketing teams. So I cover something called marketing automation, which is various sort of like platforms and various services to help marketing teams to enhance their functions, to do digital marketing. So various tools for like automating email sending, gathering, generating new leads for the company.
Like RPA?
Yeah, so that's the kind of thing that is covered. So new developments, and a lot of that is what has been sort of enabled by things like AI and ML, because you are now using those processing powers and the sort of the analytical tools that are available to really broaden the type of marketing that you can do. So marketing as well as sales engagement is what I look at, as well as customer what's called CRM platforms.
CRM.
So, yeah, so broadly those are the areas.
Right. Okay. So if a company, if there's a client, like a prospective client out there who wants to receive your service, how would you propose in a bigger scale, in a global scale? How do you propose that they apply this to their companies? How do they find whether they have a requirement to reach you?
Okay, so I mean, it really depends on sort of like what your use case is, what you're going to use this for. So maybe if you're someone like working in a venture capital firm, you're trying to figure out what is like the next best thing that is out there. So you want to understand what are the areas that are where really the activity is happening. So that's something which our platform would be able to help with, to identify who are the in each of these industries, who are the leading startups in that, who has got the most funding,
right.
What seems to be showing the most activity. So our platform allows you to identify that. And actually recently our chief content officer, she did a webinar where we highlighted a new report that we're doing called the Edge 100, where from our database of startups that we have identified, we've sort of identified the top 100 companies that shows the most prospects. So that's the kind of thing you can do. Another sort of broad application we're seeing is if you're in the corporate planning team in a large conglomerate, you want to keep tabs on what your competitors are doing, how you are performing against them, what are sort of like and to identify what are maybe some of the opportunities to partner, maybe some mergers and acquisitions opportunities. So identifying those opportunities, again, the platform would help with that.
So your platform is different from CRM platforms we see, such as HubSpot. Likewise, it's different from what the service that you provide will be different. Because I've been exposed, I recently got exposed to this tool called the Zeek Analytics. That's also an analytics program.
Yeah.
So what's the difference, would you say?
So something like HubSpot, it is, as you said, it's a CRM platform. So that's really for, if you're like in the sales team or a marketing team, to identifying the customers that you have and, identifying the different types of customer profiles that you have, doing various, trying to identify what is the best way to cater to them in terms of the type of marketing that would appeal to them, the type of products and services that would appeal to them. So that's the kind of thing that sort of platform would do. So that is one of the areas we would be covering in our hub. So this is more like someone who is looking to invest in those particular startups. Maybe if there's an opportunity in CRM, our platform might give you some insight on that.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So in terms of that, now a company, like we take many companies in Sri Lanka, and also we speak about conglomerates, and also there are also multinational companies, international companies working here in Sri Lanka, like yourselves, and so this CRS, corporate responsibility, social responsibility, is something big, because that's actually something that we really want to highlight, because that's how the outsiders, the non-stakeholders of the company, also gets benefited. So what kind of approach does your company, Userbase, has on that?
Yes, so in terms of Userbase's culture, I mean, something that they sort of promote and sort of like the value proposition of the company, the way they sort of frame it, is they're promoting what they call play business, which is this idea that you need to sort of bring together the individual, the corporate, and the society. You have to like coexist in the same ecosystem. You can't like segment them. So very much that is, and in line with that, they have the company promotes something called the 7 values, and everything, the sort of like the policies that we have, everything is sort of flows from that. So just to highlight like a specific initiative that the company does in this regard is something, so again, it very much comes from that startup culture that the company advocates. So they have a program called Think Beyond, where they basically, one division of Userbase, something that they also provide, is they provide business consultancy services. So in this Think Beyond program, basically it's an opportunity for team members in the company to really showcase their entrepreneurial skills. So the company would provide support to like coach you and to train you with developing your startup idea. It'll in terms of how to develop that business proposal and do the get that work off the ground. And they sort of have like an annual competition globally. With this, and if you're there'll be like several rounds to it, and if you're successful, actually the company would then even be a part of it in terms of funding it, or it might even become a new business venture for the company. So very much they're promoting that sort of entrepreneurial spirit across the organization.
Okay, and you said you also have some CRS activities that you do on your own, and also some of the some of the provision of your service that you do to the society. Let's highlight that as well.
Okay, sure. So apart from my work at Userbase, I also volunteer for, I'm also a CFA charter holder, so that is the Chartered Financial Analyst program. So I volunteer for the CFA Society in Sri Lanka. So I'm on, so currently I'm leading one of the committees there, which is called the Candidate Outreach, where we are basically supporting the candidates with helping their exam prep, and going beyond that in terms of helping with their business and like professional development. So that's a certain initiative that I lead. Another small thing that I do is I also volunteer for, there's a not-for-profit organization called GIZ, where they promote sort of, I mean, one of their like research themes is on like promoting diversity and like inclusivity and cooperation. So in line with that, they have things called, they organize things called memory walks in Colombo, where basically highlighting the sort of the history of different parts of Colombo, and the different communities that lived there and moved. So I've sort of like volunteered on some of those, and again I think that speaks to sort of like that again I'm not like a historian, or I don't have a background in that, but really it's if you have that research skill, it doesn't really matter what subject matter you do. It's kind of like the same skills that you can really apply to it. So I once conducted a walk in like the Fort area, talking about the history of like banking and finance in Sri Lanka.
Wow. Okay, that's a very different topic when it comes to Fort, I would say. Thank you so much for the advices and also for your time. And so we had Mr. Travis Gomez, Associate Director from the Userbase, joining with us today to speak about all these aspects when it comes to the company, and also his own experiences and how he and also the company gives back to the society to sustain the entire country and the globe at the same time. Thank you so much for joining in today.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Right. So we will see you next time when we come with you for a discussion, a similar one with much more aspects as well. Have a good night.